I'm lost in darkness, searching for light. Every step forward feels like a fight. Shadows of doubt creep in my mind, but I refuse to surrender. I must find a way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. The weight of the world crushes me down. Fear and uncertainty all around. But I deep find inner strength to face the trials length by length. A way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes, like phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my heart reborn. I've walked through fire and emerged scarred, but wiser, stronger, and unmarred. My existence is a test of will, of trials overcome, of a soul made bold. The way of the world's above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Oh, made bold. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my spirit unborn. Day, nothing changes. All I want is a moment to think clearly, but thoughts come unrelenting, consuming every waking moment. My mind binds me and I can't escape. I shout for help, but no one hears me. One day I fear I'll just disappear. Lost in this chaos, I'm searching for peace.
Hey, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Sheet Radio NXT post-show rewind. It is May the 6th, 2025. I am Tyler, the pro wrestling hipster, coming at you live tonight, just with Molly Holly here this evening, riding solo. I am 40 years old and alone tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a lot to cover on NXT tonight. Big show, a lot of contendership implications coming out of tonight's program. And also, I will be talking a little bit about the recent round of releases. Got to say that 5 times fast, right? As it pertains to the developmental brand and what that means for NXT going forward. Josh, I will absolutely be talking about that a little bit later here this evening. I definitely have words about that, as well as some other releases that I was just I don't want to say, you know what? I will. Flabbergasted, stunned, shocked, aghast about. But folks, before we can get rolling tonight into all of the TNA. Well, there was some TNA action here, but some NXT goodness. I got to give the shout out to the us on the web. That is DarkStateRadio.com for all of your professional wrestling, pop culture, entertainment needs. Check it out. Make it your homepage. Look at it multiple times a day, just like we do. Not because we're legally obligated to do so, but because we love to do it. Folks, as I said, we had a lot advertised going into tonight's program. We had the contendership battle royal for the men there, 25 men over the top battle royal. That is the old picture where they were still advertising Eddie Thorpe as to being in that. Advertise the man for the match and then release him. That's rough. Also, Molly, you gonna go that way? All right, fine. We had Kelani, Jordynne, and Zaria going 1-on-1 in 6-man tag action. We had Joe Hendry tagging with the tag champs Hank and Tank against 3 members of DarkState, as to be named when the match started, as is their shtick. And then, of course, for number 1 contendership of the women's NXT Championship, Giulia and Jordynne Grace. Guys, we were starting off tonight, as we often do with wrestlers shuffling into the arena. I love watching them walk into the parking lot because it really heavily implies that they are all arriving at the exact same time. It's kind of wild. It's a little almost too cute by half, as they say, and it is a very dangerous parking lot. Maybe that's why it's such a dangerous parking lot, because everyone is arriving there at the same time, vying for parking. You know, they're not just jockeying for position on the roster; they're looking for premium parking in the Performance Center parking lot. Again, heavy alliteration this evening. But after the folks were shuffling in there and Vic ran down the show, we started off immediately with Hank and Tank making their way out to the ring. High energy right off the bat, getting the crowd pumped up. And that energy continued as Joe Hendry made his way out to the ring immediately. Say his name and he appears. And the man continues to be wildly over despite repeated losses on WWE television. It happens. If you hear me pause for a moment tonight, it's because I'm sipping something. Okay, so apologies in advance. Molly's already asleep again, but she does believe in Joe Hendry, though. I do assure you of that. DarkState made their entrance after all 3, and when I say 3, I mean Hendry, Hank, and Tank made the pose. DarkState made their entrance through the crowd, as they have been doing. Like that they're keeping that going. They shouldn't come out through the entrance ramp, really, ever, unless they want, that part of their aura to absolutely vanish. They made their way into the ring, and it was clear that tonight DarkState would be being represented by Dion, Lennox, Osiris, Griffin, and Cutler James, or James Cutler, as I like to call him, because it just sounds like it makes more sense. The match was immediately physical. Solid work throughout the match here. This kind of went, I don't want to say in a predictable way, but I will. You kind of figured that Trick Williams was going to get involved here tonight in some capacity, costing the match for the faces. And that is exactly what happened here. Pretty close to the end of the match, as I guess would be its part of the finish. Trick ran down, and he and Joe brawled to the back, leaving the tag champs all alone against DarkState, and the numbers advantage caught up very quickly, and DarkState getting the win here tonight in 11 minutes and 41 seconds. Now, the fact that the tag champs were pinned here by none other than Cutler James, or James Cutler, whichever you like, does that put them into contendership for the tag titles? I mean, one would think it would. Corey even talked about on commentary, if one of them were to have pinned Joe Hendry, what would that mean in terms of contendership for the TNA Championship? Speaking of the TNA Championship and contendership, we'll get a little more on that later tonight. But no, as far as this match goes, I liked it. I thought it was good. I'm digging DarkState here. I know people are, calling him Temu Retribution and all of that, but I think it's clicking here so far. It is a little interesting, the dichotomy that they're having to strike with Cutler, being that he is featured both prominently on NXT proper as well as LFG. But hey, if they want to walk a tightrope, they're going to walk a tightrope. And that's how they're going to do it. But but yeah, I was happy with this. Like I said, predictable ending. But predictable's not bad. Predictable means logical in a lot of in a lot of sense and a lot of times. So I'm not going to complain about that. Not going to complain at all. All right. From there, we went to the backstage area in the women's locker room where we had Carmen Petrovic and Thea Hale. They were discussing Carmen's recent breakup with Ashante the Adonis. Very sad, very sad. CJ was quite quite rejoicing, quite joyful of the. If you saw last week's program, you know that CJ hated Ashante Adonis from the start and was pleased as punch when Carmen Petrovic kicked him in the head last week. But here, Hale was telling Carmen to be strong after the Barry Cup, and that summoned a very angry Jada Parker and said that Thea Hale doesn't know anything about being strong, that she's come back acting all grown up, and she's still the same little chihuahua that she was before. And this incensed Carmen, and this would set up for a match later tonight between Jada Parker and Carmen Petrovic. So again, hey, pretty normal trick they do on NXT, setting up a match this way. Again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It works. It's a good way to get a couple unannounced matches on the show. Before our next match, we had backstage the No Quarter Catch crew, NQCC for short, if you like. They were discussing the Battle Royal that would be coming up later this evening. And Charlie Dempsey, he's still a little hot about Miles tagging with Javon Evans a couple weeks ago. But, he was kind of putting that aside and said the focus is on the Battle Royal tonight. And they all have one goal, even though they are working independently. Technically, in a Battle Royal, they have one unified goal, which is to get a win for the No Quarter Catch crew. So, solid promo work. And yeah, this just continued to not even lay the groundwork, but chug down the track of Charlie Dempsey having friction with Tavion Heights and Miles Bourne. Not so much Ren Sinclair, but the others. Ren does seem to be more solidly on the side of Miles and Tavion. Maybe partially because Charlie's not that fun. She's kind of bubbly, happy-go-lucky, so it's understandable. But, all right, but up next in the ring, we had Kelani Jordynne taking on Zaria, one-on-one Zaria, of course, out there with her good friend and tag team partner, for now, Sol Ruka. Good match here. I thought this was, that classic athleticism versus strength, endurance versus speed kind of wrestling match. And they worked it really well here. I've said this a few times in past weeks, but Kelani Jordynne has come along so far over the past, probably I want to say 4 to 6 months, especially. But yeah, sorry, really great match here. Sorry, I had a cat jump across my lap, guys. Very distracting. It's a zoo in this house. But solid work here. It was going back and forth. And, I'm going to be honest, this was one of those matches going into it where I really wasn't certain who was going to get the win here. But as things spilled to the outside of the ring, Kelani Jordynne was groped, caught by Sol Ruka. And this caused a bit of a distraction as she was shook by that, understandably so, and Zaria speared her through the barricade. This led to a pretty quick finish into the ring, and Zaria getting the win in 11 minutes and 22 seconds. And as you can see there, her buddy raising her arm, but she's got her eyes not on her friend, ladies and gentlemen. But no, it is on that North American Championship. So I think that maybe they could keep him. It could be friendly competition, friendly rivalry between the two of them working a match like that. And I'd kind of rather them do that. My God, you don't need to have people break up over championships every time. They can be a team, they can be friends, and they can have a rivalry for a championship. I know they kind of went that route with Soul and Kelani, and that was, I think partially what eventually, led to Kalani's heel turn, which I'm thinking is still there. Yeah, it's like she's mean now, guys. She's mean, but so they have kind of gone down that road before. So I wouldn't like to. I would prefer them not to run the exact same path. Something similar, but then mix it up. Let them still be friends. Shake and hug after. But yeah, like I said, solid match here. And Sol Ruka is going to have a meeting with HR tomorrow morning. That's when the fine comes in. But yeah, I dug this match a lot. All right, back in the backstage game, we had Tony D, the Don of NXT. He was on the phone and he was saying, "If you hear something, let me know." As Wes Lee, Tyrick, and Tyson walked into the scene, Leah mocked Tony D here, making fun of him for being alone now, saying he must have lost all of his confidence again, and that's why he ain't in the Battle Royal tonight. And Tony warned him against going down this road, and he just kind of gave him a little bit of a shrug and a see ya and walked out. So, I'd say that they were, maybe setting up for something next week. I'd say they were absolutely setting up for something next week. Later tonight, they would announce that we're getting Tony D and Wes Lee. Hey, it rhymed. Next week. So, again, using a quick little backstage segment to set up for something down the road, and I like that. I like having things announced ahead of time. It's, makes it feel like a legitimate sport, guys. That's part of what we're trying to do here, right? Alrighty, ahead of the break, we had Trick Williams make his way to the ring. Despite his heelish tendencies lately, still getting a loud reaction, a whoop that trick response from the crowd, as also from Booker, as Booker will do that forever and ever and ever. It does hurt the heel turn and the desire of the crowd to completely turn on a wrestler when they have something so chantable in their song, or something they want to sing, or something they want to go along with, a phrase, anything like that. It doesn't help. And I gotta say, they I don't know. Obviously, you can't really change Trick's music. I mean, if they really wanted him to go full heel and get a really nasty reaction, they would. But it's a similar thing with Seth Rollins, up on the main, having a singable theme song. The crowd's still going to cheer him and sing along, and they are still cheering him. So maybe they're doing it a little wrong in two places there at once. I apparently missed a picture here, but backstage before the Battle Royal, we had Lola Vice and Stephanie Vacker hanging out, having a little discussion, and they were talking about the Battle Royal, because you could hear the crowd reacting. And Vice said that she'd be waiting on the other side of Battleground for whomever wins. And I like the segment. It was brief, but again, Vacker comes across like a legitimate champion here, like a main event star. I don't think she's going to be at NXT too much longer. Like, she's got a foot on the main roster already. I feel like they're moving her maybe a little more quickly than they've planned to. She's fully baked. She's great at what she does. Her English is coming along really, really well and really quickly. She's got a great connection with the crowd, which I think is already transferring to the main roster. So I understand why they want to put her up there so quickly. That being said, and we'll get into the main event later, I would imagine that if she is main roster bound that soon, especially with kind of, again, one foot already in it, she's probably not going to be hanging on to the championship. But yeah, we'll see though. We'll see, and we'll find out who she's facing at Battleground. later tonight. But back into the Performance Center, we had only a few folks getting entrances for this Battle Royal, one of them being All Ego Ethan Page. I like the song. I'm a fan of the song. CJ doesn't like the song, but I dig it. I'm not a Def Rebel guy. Obviously, Def Rebel, they suck. I go on record on saying that. I'm not ashamed to say that. They're not good. 99% of what they do is just god awful. But hey, All Ego Ethan Page. I'm here for that one. I like it. I can get behind that. But after he made his way into the ring, the lights went out, and we heard a familiar strum of a guitar. Ladies and gentlemen, Elijah, formerly Elias, what is he doing in the NXT zone? He was here for the Battle Royal, singing his way to the ring, talking about there basically being there to help Joe. There was a come walk with a Elijah chant. CW muted it because CW seems to mute things often. They don't know what they're hearing half the time, I swear. It was a come walk with Elijah and muted. So I don't. This is like the Miss Parker chant a few weeks ago, and they muted out on that. I don't know what they think they are hearing, but my God, you guys are jumpy for network TV. Okay, I get it. The crowd chants, holy shit from time to time, and you're the CW. You don't want that on air. I understand that, but listen more closely. You have like an 11-second delay. Maybe it's longer these days. I don't know. It probably is like 11 seconds. It's been that way since the Super Bowl incident with Janet and Justin Timberlake. But guys, the Battle Royal, they went some time here, as you would expect them to. 23 minutes and 1 second. I'm not going to go through all of the eliminations or the order. I will say they let LFG's. Oh my goodness, his name just fell right out of my head, guys. This is what happens when I look away from my notes. I just want to call him by his name on Facebook now, which is Thundercat. Shiloh Hill. Good grief. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Shiloh Hill lasted a good amount of time, and they were calling attention to the length of time that Shiloh was in the match and had lasted. And around the time they called attention to that was when he was thrown out of the ring. Which seems to happen a lot when they start talking about how good of a fight someone's putting up. That seems to be about when they lose. There were a slurry of eliminations from Trick Williams. A lot happening during the break. Trick, he eliminated Ridge Holland I think it was Ridge during the break. Wes Lee during the break. But Trick, despite the House of Fire that he was here tonight, again, predictably, logically, though, Joe Hendry, his music played. No one said his name, incidentally. He just appeared of just his own volition here. I suppose he can do that when he wants. The name doesn't have to be uttered for him to appear. But Joe Hendry shows up, and he costs Trick causes Trick to be distracted, which causes Trick to be eliminated. And this again would set up to an announcement for a match later tonight, and we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, Trick angry, and the two brawl once again. Another notable elimination here. Elijah was eliminated by Sean Spears of the Information Bush, and that left in the ring the final 4 men in the Battle Royal of the Information Bush, or the Calling. Sean Spears, the Young OG Javon Evans, All Ego Ethan Page, and Miles Bourne of the No Quarter Catch crew. And, the crowd was into this Battle Royal from the start. A little bit of a slow start, but that's what happens when you start with 25 people in the ring. It's a little clunky, a little crowded. But the crowd was absolutely coming unhinged at this point. And the four fought back and forth. And, again, you look at the last four here, and Javon Evans, he gets dumped out, and you figure with the three left, well, it's got to be Sean Spears or all ego Ethan Page. But in a massive upset, Miles Bourne of the No Quarter Catch crew, 23 minutes 1 second, outlasting 24 other men, winning and becoming the number one contender for the NXT Championship. He will be facing Oba Femi at Battleground on May 25th. Holy hell. I did not expect this. I don't, come on. Now, if anybody out there, honest to goodness, if anybody out there had Miles Bourne winning this match, you got to tell me. And I'm going to be honest, I'm probably not going to believe you. It was just such a long shot. They don't run Vegas odds on NXT week-to-week television, but I would imagine it would be quite the payout if you selected Miles Bourne to win the Battle Royal here tonight. And you know what? Shock and surprise aside here, it's awesome. The crowd was into it. The pop he got for winning. The pop. I had this in my notes here too. It's not just the pop that he got for winning. It was the pop he was getting during the match. The repeated pops he was getting during the match. Now there was a Baby Randy chant because he's hitting those power slams, and he does have a Orton quality to him, but the crowd's into him. They dig him. He is getting over, and maybe the Orton-esque qualities is certainly part of it. But despite the Baby Randy chant, he was getting a Miles chant at the end as he was celebrating as well. The crowd was super into it. They were super excited for this. And everyone was super excited. As soon as he won, Tavion Heights ran his ass down to the ring to congratulate his tag partner and buddy. Seemingly everyone was excited except for Charlie Dempsey. Charlie didn't seem very impressed, kind of giving a slow clap, seeming, I don't know, more upset than happy for his comrade. It could be because as he sees it, he's the leader of the No Quarter Catch crew. He's the glue, the central guy. He's the champion. Long term or long running Heritage Cup champion, and man, now one of the guys that he viewed as a pupil is surpassing him, getting an NXT Championship match. Charlie didn't seem too thrilled about that, but a little bit more on that tonight. From there, backstage, we had Jordynne Grace being interviewed by Sarah Schreiber, and she was very quickly interrupted by Izzy Dame, and she came there and started to talk down to Jordynne, and I mean that in the literal sense. I keep forgetting either how tall Izzy Dame is or how short Jordynne Grace is, or a combination of the two, but my goodness, the height differential between them, she's probably wearing heels too, I imagine. But she came and had some not kind things to say to her, and they were quickly interrupted by Lash Legend, who is back on the singles wrestler side of things again, with the metaphor going their separate ways last week, and then of course finding out that both Chikara Jackson and Oro Mensah were released this week, which again I'll be talking about a little bit later here tonight after the recap here. But they were both just basically talking about how they are, waiting in line, vying for those title shots, and they'll be watching what happens tonight. Which I like that. Yeah, they're a little domineering, again, towering over Jordynne Grace here. But I like when they establish that the other wrestlers on the roster are paying close attention to the matches and the outcomes of those matches. It just helps with that wonderful suspension of disbelief that we're always shooting for here in professional wrestling. But back in the Performance Center proper, we had Jada Parker making her way out to the ring ahead of her match with Carmen Petrovic. This was one of the shorter matches tonight. Only went 4 minutes, 8 seconds. Jada Parker picking up the win here. Pretty dominant. not really quite sure what their plan going forward with Carmen Petrovic is, but we got a little bit of a hint there of this tonight. After Jada won the match, this wasn't really in her current character. I felt this was a little heelish, a little aggressive for her. But after the match here tonight, she wanted to inflict a little more punishment on Carmen. And Thea Hale, she ran down to the ring to, kind of stop this. And, well, Parker unintentionally hit her, and she went down there, and Carmen checked on her after the match. And so I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have Carmen and Thea work as a team, if Carmen's going to protect Thea, if Carmen thinks she can teach Thea something. I don't know what they're going here. But if they're putting Thea Hale against Jada Parker, I don't know. I kind of figured Jada was leaning more in the face category at this point, but like Thea Hale, they can't possibly be thinking of a way to try to turn her heel. She's too charismatically. I don't know. Is there a word? And I was an English major, y'all, but is there a word that means bubbly and aggressive at the same time? Because that's what she is. I don't have a word for that, but I'm gonna work on that. That's gonna be my homework for this week, is to find a word for bubbly and aggressive. But all right. From there backstage, we had Ava talking with TNA champion Joe Hendry about how control has to be taken here. About this is getting out of hand. And she has made official a match between Joe Hendry and Trick Williams at Battleground. And for the first time ever on an NXT PLE, the TNA Championship will be on the line. Hendry seemed okay with this a little too quickly. Like, he was, all right, hunky-dory with it, just, pleased as punch to have this match with Trick. I feel like he was a little too okay with that championship being on the line. And I I'm did like Santino, was he groovy with this too? Like, I mean, was this Ava's idea? Was she like, hey, let's put that title on the line with one of my wrestlers, Santino? But yeah, so the match at Battleground between Joe Hendry and Trick Williams is going to be for the TNA Championship. Every time they have had a TNA wrestler fight for an NXT title, or an NXT title fight for or an NXT wrestler fight for a TNA title. I say this pretty much every time, how I could see them feasibly going with a title change. Really mix it up, really surprise people, flip it on its head. And I've made an argument for it making sense a couple times. I'm not the only one that's made arguments for this. Other guys on the program have as well. But, hello, Ziggy. I'm really making the argument here tonight. I'm really making the argument for this happening. Trick Williams, leaning heel. They really want him to get that nasty reaction. Let him just go full tilt, beat the tar out of everyman, hero of the people, Joe Hendry, and take that TNA championship. Get him a little more heel exposure on TNA as well. Trick's he's great at what he does. He's a star, guys. Like, he's going to be main roster very, very soon. And everyone's talking about how one-sided this relationship has been. Which, by the way, if you think the TNA NXT relationship has truly been one-sided, it's probably because you're only watching one side. That's point one. Point 1A. To quiet those folks, and I know it would involve Joe Hendry losing, but sending Trick Williams over to TNA for a while as the champion, letting him have a tear. Obviously he's going to have to, put someone over. He's going to have to make someone on the way out. That would be, a large part of the goal here, and that's part of what a talent exchange should be. But it would be good. It could be solid, and I think that they might go with that. Again, I say that a lot, and they end up not doing it. Who knows? I don't know if the partnership between them. It is a legal partnership. It's a written contract partnership between the two, but I don't know if that has championship switches in it, or maybe it does. Hell, that could be in a contract for all I know. We know, maybe maybe some folks know. Maybe Uncle Dave knows. I don't know, but nonetheless, it's going to be for the for the for the too many letters, guys. There are too many letters here. It's going to be for the TNA Championship at Battleground. Trick Williams, Joe Hendry. Gonna be good. Looking forward to it, guys. Looking forward to it. But from there, still in the backstage area, we had Yoshiki Inamura talking to Josh Briggs about them not winning, neither of them winning the 25-man Battle Royal. And God, Inamura was he was just down on himself, guys. He was just really, really low here. So low, in fact, that he, in his shame of loss, told Josh Briggs that he spoke to Ava and he would be going back to Japan. He then handed Josh Briggs back the, handed him back the vest that he gave him as a tag partner and walked away. And Briggs was upset and was trying to talk some sense into him as he walked away. And and well, he was then spoken to cruelly by his former tag partner Brooks Jensen, and said things will be better for Inamura now that he's away from Briggs. So yeah, guys, so maybe getting a little more between Briggs and Brooks there, but I heard on the interwebs that Yoshiki Inamura was heading back to Japan here soon. So I understand them making a formal show of that on the air here, but it was still sad. I had said this so many times. I didn't necessarily want to see Josh Briggs go back into a tag team, but this grew on me. I liked it. It was a fun show. But hopefully we do get Inamura back in NXT. I enjoyed watching him wrestle NXT. He has a nice strong style that he brings to it, and it's a good blend for a lot of the other NXT wrestlers, or for them to work with. And again, it's that talent exchanges, learning to work with and how to work other styles from around the world. We don't have a territory system anymore, so we try to figure out newfangled ways to achieve old school goals. Staying in the backstage as the camera panned around, we had the No Quarter Catch crew talking, and Charlie, as I said here, hello Celeste. As said earlier, Charlie didn't seem particularly thrilled that Miles won, and Charlie made it clear that it wasn't really Miles that won. It was the No Quarter Catch crew that won. And Charlie informed him that he would be facing Oba Femi at Battleground. And everyone else in the No Quarter Catch crew, Tavion, Ren, Miles, they all started to get a little visually irritated by this. And Oba Femi, as you see here, walked up in the meantime, and he was there to congratulate Miles on his win in the Battle Royal, saying that he was looking forward to facing him at Battleground. And Charlie stepped in there and said that no, he would be facing him at Battleground. And Oba said, well, no, I don't understand. I saw Miles win the Battle Royal. And Miles then stepped in, asserting his dominance over Charlie Dempsey, saying that no, it would be him. Oh, okay, it would be him facing Oba Femi at Battleground. But Oba should have heard Charlie talking before he walked up, saying that he could stretch him out, and he was going to stretch that big muscle-bound freak. And he said, you know what? Next week, Charlie, you can show me how it's done, and you can take on Oba Femi. And Charlie wasn't happy about this either. He protested quite a lot at the prospect of having to face Oba Femi next week, saying that no, he didn't say these things, that he was going to stretch him and could stretch him and all of that. But yeah, so we're going to get Oba Femi and Charlie Dempsey. That should be a pretty darn good match, honestly. Because, I mean, it's Oba Femi and Charlie Dempsey. Like, they're both great in the ring. Um, I I don't know how I feel about this level of friction in the NQCC. I mean, but maybe it is time for Charlie Dempsey to break off on his own. Miles Bourne and Tavion have been doing very well as a tag team. Clearly, Miles is over as hell, especially with the PC crowd, but he's also gotten really good reactions on the road. So there's that. And Rin Sinclair's come along very well too. She's gotten a good reaction. I think she would need to stay with Tavion and Miles for the time being. I think the three of them do complement each other very well. But hey, maybe it is time for Charlie to break out on his own. Maybe pick up a manager. Maybe a certain villain. Just putting it out there. I don't know if Regal's even open to coming back in that level of full time to do something like that. But if he were, I would absolutely love to see William Regal manage his son, Charlie Dempsey. But guys, ahead of the main event tonight, we had Chase You segment for this week, baby. We had Andre was being approached by Kale Dixon and fourth generation superstar Uriah Connors. I will say that every single week. He is a fourth generation superstar Uriah Connors. But they were approaching Mr. Chase, telling him that they love the cardigan and the khakis and the sweaters. And Andre agreed he loves all that too. They said, maybe it's time for a little something new, and they handed him a new outfit, a couple new outfits, a couple options. One was a very tight fitting little quarter zip number there, which they seemed like they liked. They were into it. They were digging it. He liked it, but he said he was going to try something else, and he went back and came back in this fantastic Chase You two-piece tracksuit, which I promise you, if they sell that thing on Shop Zone, I don't care what the price is. This hipster's buying that thing, and I will proudly do this show wearing that tracksuit. It looks comfortable and cozy, and I love showing off my Chase You pride. But they liked this, and they said that they could really see that working for him ringside. And he said ringside, a little angrily, but he said, you know what? I kind of rock with it. And he went back in. Dixon and Connors, they high-fived and excitedly said, new Chase You fit. So, yeah, fun little segment here. I absolutely love what they're doing here with the revitalization of Chase You. So happy it's back. You guys know me. I love Chase You. I'm a big fan of the concept, and I've said this before. I think this is something that could be just such a long-term, nay, I say permanent installation for NXT. It's an easy way for guys to easily get elevated into a semblance of importance. It's okay if they stumble a bit along the way when they're part of Chase U, because part of the gimmick of being in Chase U is you're learning. You're a student. You're there for instruction. It's NXT's only institution of higher learning. And I like what Uriah and Kale have brought to the table here, kind of giving a little bit of a youthful injection to Andre Chase. And, I am a bit biased as, CJ and I both witnessed a lot of what Uriah and Kale were doing on NXT Level Up back when that was a show, and CJ and I were on that Level Up adventure with Developmental. But yeah, this is fun. I like it. I dig it. I'm absolutely here for it. Chase U is my jam, y'all. Proud enrollee of Chase U. I've got a cat darting around my laptop right now, so fun. But guys, right ahead of the main event here tonight, they did announce that next week we would be getting the contract signing between Joe Hendry and Trick Williams for that TNA Championship match at Battleground. And also, we'd be getting Tony D versus Wesley, as I said earlier in the night. And then we had making her way to the ring, Jordynne Grace, getting a good reaction from the crowd, getting to have her own entrance music because she owns it, and also using the Steiner Siren at the top of the show. Look, she gets a pop because she's a star. People like her. She's good at what she does. She's a great wrestler. She did kind of drop Giulia on her head tonight. We'll talk about that a bit, but she gets a hell of a pop, and I do think part of it is because she has a very recognizable entrance theme. And that's a large issue with the WWE ecosystem with its music nowadays. Fudge, Def Rebel's terrible. You suck, Def Rebel. It's so homogenized. 99% of what you do sounds identical, and people don't get. Part of the reason people don't get the pops they should is because they don't have recognizable entrance music that people associate with them within that first second and a half. And she has that here. She has that, so she's getting that big pop, that big superstar reaction. Um, Sorry. As I said, she made her way to the ring. I lost my Giulia picture here, but Giulia made her way right after Jordynne Grace. Again, very big pop, and Giulia is so over. And it's talk. I said this about Stephanie Vacker earlier this evening. Giulia's got a foot on the main roster already. I wouldn't even say she's got a foot. She's got like both feet, but she's still just leaning back, touching NXT. That's kind of where she's at right now. So it makes absolute sense that the match went the way it went in terms of who won here this evening. But as I said, a couple scary looking moments here tonight. But yeah, Giulia kind of getting dumped on her head. The match went, I want to say, maybe 6-7 minutes after that. I don't have an exact number there, but it was rough. It was a rough looking spot, but it didn't really seem to slow her down, and they kept going here. Lots of strength spots from Jordynne Grace here tonight, as to be expected. And after a solid, very physical match. My gosh, a lot of great comeback moments from Giulia. Just Hulk up's not the word I want to use. I want a new term now. I don't want to attribute that to Hulk anymore. So if anybody's got an idea there, but just getting all of that fire and that rage back and coming back, looking like she might pick up the win here, but no, it wasn't her night. It was Jordynne Grace's night, and she hit a excuse me, uh, she hit a jackhammer, and sorry, got a 2 after the jackhammer. I felt a little too far back in my notes. I was looking at I was writing a lot of things quickly at the end here. As I have it here, Grace Grace hits. Excuse me, guys. These cats are running circles around me. I thought they were all tired out, but no, it's Zoomies time at 11:20 on the East Coast. So Grace got Giulia up like she was going to pile driver, which was the setup to go with the fall away. Giulia powered back up, and this is where I was talking about. This is where she really fired up. You really thought that she was going to maybe come back and pull out a victory, but no. Beast mode was hit by Jordynne Grace, and again, it was a tight, physical, very dangerous looking beast mode, especially after Giulia kind of knocking her head earlier in the match. She gets the win. Jordynne Grace gets the win here. I think Giulia is fine. I'm hoping that those spots were designed to look that way. Just Giulia trying to make Jordynne Grace look as strong as humanly possible. Because my God, this match was hard hitting and very, very, very just physical. But 12 minutes, 44 seconds. Jordynne Grace, the winner here tonight. She is going to Battleground to face Stephanie Vacker for the NXT Championship. Like I said earlier, with Vacker leaning so heavily into the main roster, I'm assuming that Stephanie is. I'm assuming that she's probably going to drop the belt to Jordynne. They really seem determined to get Stephanie up on that main roster. She's getting way too much time up there over the last few weeks, not be being moved in the very, very near future. It is post-Mania season, and I could very well see the title change happening here, and Jordynne hanging around NXT for a while longer, and being the focal point of the women's division for a minute. I mean, there are other people. She could be a transitional champion too. She'd be in the main roster in a few, in a few months as well. We don't know. We never know. But that being said, she could be a focal point. She could be someone who's a champ for a month or two, someone who's a transitional champion. There are a lot of women in NXT that could hold that title and run with it, and I think have a lot of success with it. But yeah, a hell of a match here. Like I said, couple little rough looking spots, but that could have been by design. I hope it was. Um, there's not that big of a size difference between Giulia and Jordynne Grace. Obviously, Jordynne does have a size difference with several of the women on the roster. And that can lead to some issues, physically speaking, with certain moves between people. But I don't think that was a factor here. And again, I hope the spots were by design. But physical match, brutal match, hard hitting match, great main event. And ending shot there with Stephanie staring down Jordynne Grace. No complaints here from me with that finish. I saw some people online that were a little mad, a little angry that Giulia lost, but again, she's basically on the main roster at this point, so this was an understandable finish. This was an understandable finish to me. Um, so yeah, now I'm fighting with a cat for my headphone cord. Here, go play with a pen. You're a good cat. Um, so I let's see. I guess I'll do the megastar and jobber of the night before talking about the releases here. Very quickly. So jobber of the night. Let me get my little banner up here. Pow, pow, pow. There we are. The jobber of the night. So this was kind of a tough one, and I have my reasons for whom I've chosen, and it's for a couple different reasons. One, Thea Hale. I don't know what she's doing here exactly. She kind of got herself unnecessarily involved in a match with Jada and Carmen here. She kind of, again, I don't even understand why and how she pissed Jada off so badly backstage, but you just came back. This isn't a great look for, returning so soon. I'm not saying that they needed to put Thea Hale on some massive, run of dominant wins or anything, but I really don't think this is it for her either. So I want to mention her on that. And then also, I have to, this is just kayfabing it a little bit for Joe Hendry and Trick Williams. You guys are just costing each other things. Like, Trick, you ran down and attacked a dude during a 6-man tag. No good reason for it. You know what I mean? You were better off just to leave him to DarkState. Even if they won the match, you figure DarkState's going to lay waste to him after anyway. That would have behooved you to just let Joe Hendry get his ass kicked that way. But you got yourself involved with Joe there tonight, and then that instanced Joe to get involved with you during the Battle Royal, causing you to be eliminated when he came out and distracted you. And then a match is made between Joe Hendry and Trick Williams by Ava, and she puts the title on the line, and Joe, you're fine with it. You're hunky-dory, not even a word of argument like, are you sure? Wait a minute. What? No, you're fine. Guys, you're losing sight of the game because of each other. You're losing the forest for the trees. Is that it? You're both a couple trees, and you're just stone and wood in the forest. I don't know what the metaphor, how it really works for wrestling here, but you understand what I mean. You're too distracted by one another, and so I'm putting them on the jobber list tonight for that, because it just it irked me. It irked me. It tasked me, uh, as Khan says during the show. It tasked me, and yeah. So for those reasons, those are my choices for jobbers of the night. That's going to bring us into the megastar of the night. Where's my horn? Megastar of the night. This is an easy one. Easy choice. No really thought at all. Split second right there. Boom. Miles friggin' Bourne, Baby Randy, as the crowd like to call him tonight, of the No Quarter Catch crew. I'm going to say that as long as I can while the No Quarter Catch crew continues to exist. My goodness. Again, the reactions and pops he was getting during the match, especially once it came down to that final four, but even before then, coming through as an absolute dark horse winner here tonight. And then, standing up, showing just balls, not just to the man that, positioned himself kind of as his leader, his mentor, but to the NXT champion, Oba Femi, standing up, showing what he is. And I'm looking forward to this match. Obviously, Miles Bourne is not going to be Oba Femi for the NXT championship. And maybe they'll do something a little screwy where they'll make an argument that the reason he loses is because of something Charlie Dempsey does. I can see that happening. Not so much to protect Oba, but to give them a program leading out of that, and to protect Miles a little bit. And my goodness, Miles is he was so over here tonight, and it was awesome. I was shocked. It was one of those actual jaw drop shout, oh my god, hell yeah moments. I was excited for it because I didn't expect it, and it was fun, and it's going to be a good match. They'll have a good match together, and I would wonder. If this is something that NXT management, WWE management in general, will be paying close attention to. Is this a test of sorts for Miles Bourne? I think that you could make an argument that it is. I think that they'll be watching that one pretty close. Could be I'm not gonna say a sink or swim moment for him, but it could be something. Could be something big. But guys, that's my superstar, or sorry, my megastar and jobber of the night. Now, guys, I'm hoping to also get to have some words with the rest of the NXT crew here in the coming weeks regarding these releases. But I do want to address some of the releases as pertains to NXT tonight. And again, I want to get Malik and Robbie and CJ's opinions on these as well. And I'm sure that we'll be getting some of that in the coming weeks. Here, as well as on a Weekend Wrestling Roundup in the future, I'm sure. But yeah, we had a lot of releases this week. I'm not going to focus on the main roster ones for, I would think, understandable reasons here tonight. I'm going to be talking about all of the ones that affect the developmental brand. Now, so I'm just going to kind of run through real quick here. I've got more to say about some than others. But we'll start with I guess I'll start with one I was most surprised about. Cora Jade. And this was a comment. No, Tony, you're not too late. Tony, I'm done talking about NXT proper, but I'm talking about the releases that happened for NXT this evening. But earlier tonight at the top of the show, Josh Simon commented and asking about the thoughts on the Cora Jade release. So I'm going to start with Cora here. Yeah, this was a shocker to me. I think this was a surprise to a lot of folks. Cora was being featured regularly on NXT television. She was being featured regularly on TNA as well. And, they've put a lot into her. They've put a lot of time into her development. And I think that, let me flashing between this picture and back, but I think that there's absolutely an argument, not even an argument, it's just clear. Her development was not quick. She didn't come along super quickly as a performer, but she did come along, and she got good in ring. And she was coming along with this heel character, and it was a surprise. And I don't really know the reason. I've heard rumblings on the internet that certain people were released due to them being viewed as lazy and not wanting to put the work in. But it's hard to see with someone like Cora. Cora worked very hard, and so then my mind goes to, well, did they release her because of the injuries? And that's certainly a possibility. I would hope not. Because yeah, sometimes you have a couple back to back and then you're fine, and nothing else really ever happens. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that might be where they were coming from. I would hope not, because I'm saying you can have those string of injuries and then come back and be fine for years, and not have any issues. But I don't know. It's hard to say. Surprising, absolutely surprising for them to have cut her. Like I said, if the injury thing is or was an issue for her, they didn't cut Nikita Lyons. They just moved her to Evolved. But yeah. So definitely shocked. Definitely shocked with the Cora release there. Speaking of Evolved, we're talking about Riley Osborne there for a second. Now, from what I've heard, one of the reasons that Riley was released was because he wasn't willing. He wasn't willing to work Evolved, and I don't know if that's necessarily true or not, but that's the word. It was Cora. Tony, I'm not really sure about that. If she was, it couldn't have been for long. She's very, very young. I'm not sure. If anyone else out there in Chatland knows, let me know. I'm not 100% on that, Tony. But yeah, sorry. But yeah, sorry. But him being released doesn't come as a huge shock, though. The potential unwillingness to work Evolve aside, Riley hadn't been on TV since the Chase U disbandment 5 months ago, and there was no mention of him. They released Duke Hudson a while last year, and we thought maybe he was safe. Didn't hear anything, and then Thea Hale came back a few weeks ago, and there was still no mention of Riley Osborne. And so this doesn't come as a huge shock that they released him, because they didn't do anything with him at all after. If you guys are refusing to work Evolve, I mean that's his prerogative as a wrestler. You obviously have a right as a pro wrestler to do what you think is best for you and your character or whatever. But I don't know. That could have been one of those things. Bide your time, work on your character development, and kind of work your way back up. Like, the dude's very good in ring, but he wasn't really able to make that connection with the crowd that he really needed to make. I'm not going to say that he didn't have any connection with the crowd. The affiliation with Chase U endeared him to the audience, but he didn't make as genuine of a connection as someone like Thea Hale did, where Thea Steele, my West Virginia came out there, where Thea is still getting that reaction and that big pop from the crowd. They like her, they're into her, they want to see her succeed. and Riley never got that tight of a connection with the audience. Which is a shame. Like I said, he's very good in ring. He just needs to maybe work on the character aspect of that. Uh, this is one that I'll say was surprising, not surprising. Gallus. Um, Gallus was a centerpiece of NXT UK for a while. And, they were capable of a lot. They had a bit of start and stop on NXT proper. Always liked them, though. I always thought they had quality matches. I dug their characters. I feel like they were a group of dudes that absolutely know who their characters are. They know what they should be, what they shouldn't be, how they should behave, how to react in real time and in an improv sense. And I dig them. I'm sure that they'll be fine. They're probably gonna start tearing it up on the indies as soon as they can. But yeah, but now that's why I'm surprised because they're very talented and very good. That's the surprise. That's the surprise of that. Thank you, Tony. I felt that the image was very well balanced overall. Um, but uh, but yeah, that was a surprise. The not surprise part was the fact that they hadn't really been featured much on NXT proper. They had been working Evolve, but they had been losing on Evolve in about 3 minutes, give or take, when they were on there losing. So the writing was kind of on the wall for them. Danny Palmer, I don't have like a number on this, but I'm I'm not sure when the last time we saw Danny Palmer actually was. Um, I'm really really struggling to think of uh the last time she had a match on NXT proper. I want to say I saw her on Level Up once or twice, but like I just we hadn't seen her in a long time. She wasn't being used, and upon her release, she did announce on social media that she is retiring from wrestling. So this was it, for her. She took a shot at it. Maybe just didn't stick with her. Maybe she just didn't, wasn't feeling it. It wasn't her calling. It's something that you really have to, love to do for the most part. And, I don't know. She was fine in the ring. I can't really say anything super negative about her, but I also can't say anything, gleamingly hugely positive about her either. She was there. As far as names go, Danny Palmer was one of the better names at NXT. But yeah, so not only released, but she has also retired from professional wrestling. Javier Bernal. Um, I'm trying to think of the last time. Again, I'm trying struggling. The last time I saw him. Uh, I I don't know when the last time he wrestled in NXT proper was. So again, this was one when I read that one again, and it's always sad that anyone gets released to lose their job. You never want anyone to have that happen, but it was one when I read it, I wasn't particularly shocked, uh, particularly shocked at that. But moving on through here, I'll you know, back in the surprising category here. Gigi Dolan and Shotzi. I'll talk about both of them here a bit. I was surprised that both of them were released here. And I guess by technicality, Shotzi wasn't released. I know I don't. The IWC will come at me over my verbiage being incorrect here. They're not renewing her contract, but come on, same diff, right? I mean that's she ain't gonna be working there anymore. But this is really surprising to me because they had something with that group with Shotzi, Gigi, and Tatum Paxley. And I dug what they were doing. I thought it was working. I thought that Gigi and Tatum as a tag team were certainly getting over. And I know that Shotzi's had some injury issues as well. But hell, she's a good character. She's a good talker. She's fun. they could have transitioned her into being a manager for Tatum and Gigi and let them be a tag team. It would have been good. They need women tag teams. They need solid women's tag teams, and they're solid. And, they had a cool tandem tag finisher. This one, it was surprising, and it bummed me out a lot. Because I like Shotzi and I like Gigi, and I like the grouping of them with Tatum. And it was the other night, I'm seriously, like, I'm sitting there playing Pokemon Go, winding down for the evening. I just gasped to myself. And my wife turns to me and says, "What?" I said, "No, you're going to think it's dumb, but it just occurred to me that Tatum Paxley's all alone now. Tatum is all alone." And that bums me out. Yeah, she kind of did, Tony. She kind of did. But yeah, so I don't know now also what the plan is for Tatum Paxley. I suppose she'll be back in the dollhouse playing with, her dolls and talking to herself. They better find something for her because she's cool. Like, I really love that character, and she's got a really badass finisher. But yeah, so hopefully, Tatum will be all right. But yeah, Gigi and Shotzi being released, big shock, bummer as well. I like them. I like them both independent, and I also, again, just loved the grouping of them with Tatum. I know I've said that like 6 times, guys. It's getting a little late. Sorry if I am talking myself in circles. But all right, just a couple more folks to hit on here. Oro and Jakara. Last week they broke up the metaphor. They broke up's a bit strong of a word. They had them go their separate ways in a friendly way. Noam Dar, the new Heritage Cup champion, going to do his thing, and Lash said that Oro was going to be rocking it on the Evolution, and that she was going to do her thing, and Jakara was going to do her thing. Now I know why she said that she and Jakara weren't going to be a tag team anymore. That makes a lot more sense now. But yeah, so both of them being released. Yeah. Oh yeah, hell of a tag team there. Again, like Gigi's a good tag wrestler. She's a good tag wrestler. Sorry. But yeah, this was surprising because again, them separating the metaphor last week makes just a ton more sense now, as management knew who was being released. But Oro was doing well on Evolved, and Oro Mins is a good wrestler. And again, maybe finding out things like after Duke Hudson was released, that his kind of sink or swim moment was that match with Oba Femi. And I gave him high praise for that, but apparently WWE management did not. And that was kind of what led to his eventual release. And I'm wondering if Oro's sink or swim time was right after Noam Dar went down with injury. And management just wasn't super impressed with, what he did as a singles guy. I don't know. That's the best potential explanation I have. Again, I thought Oro was good. I thought that he, when given the opportunity, was able to foster a pretty good relationship with the crowd. I liked where his character was going. It was very sad, though. It was very melodramatic for sure. Wonder Years Aura Degrassi for our Canadian viewers. But yeah, I don't know. I like Oro. I thought he did well after Noam Dar went out with injury. But hey, maybe I'm more easily impressed. And obviously management sees things I'm never going to see. None of us are ever going to see. But anyway. And Jakara, I'm, surprised and also not in a way. With Jakara, if I would have been way more surprised if she was still in a tag team with Lash Legend, and then they're like releasing Jakara Jackson, be like, okay, that's really awful and weird. Why are you doing that? again, them splitting up Metaphor, it kind of makes everything make a little bit more sense, but I'm still surprised because I thought she was coming along. I thought that she was getting better in ring. When Metaphor got put together, I think she was absolutely better than Lash Legend in ring. Probably at her character as well. And through the run of Metaphor and them tagging together, Lash just paced her. And, she's better in ring than Jakara. And again, this is all hipster opinion, but I think she's better in ring than Jakara, and I think she has a better handle on her character. But yeah, it was, yeah, Jada Parker's incredibly over. With all due respect to Jakara, a lot of women on the roster are more over than she is. But they gave Lash and Jakara some good spots, but you're right, they didn't really get a ton of wins on the main roster, which made sense as they weren't main roster bound. And maybe that was the test. Maybe them getting that little, stint on the main roster there as a tag team, that was management looking at both of them, evaluating them as a tag team, evaluating them individually, and deciding that they were done putting the time into Jakara, and they were just going to, be in the Lash Legend business as far as that goes. But yeah, but for those reasons, it was surprising because I thought they had a good thing going there. But yeah, so Jakara Jackson, and she said, I think she had a social media announcement saying that she'll be tearing it up soon, and not to worry about her, to worry about your own pockets. So Jakara is definitely hopeful. So I think she has definitely a distance to go to be someone who would be ready for the main roster, but I think she's got a good base, and I'd like to see her continue going forward and make her run on the indies and try to get her way back to that main roster. Guys, I think that leaves everyone but one person in that picture there that we haven't hit on, and that is Eddie Thorpe. This was again more in the realm of a surprise to me that Eddie Thorpe was released. I mean, my God, 6 weeks ago, the dude was in the main roster. Or, I'm sorry, not the main roster. Sorry, the main event scene of NXT. It's late, guys. It's late. Sorry. He was in the main event scene of NXT like 6 weeks ago. He was tying it up with Trick Williams vying for title shots. He got a win. The man won a strap match against Trick Williams. Tony, the TNA card might not be there as much as it was before with that relationship. They might be like, look, we just released this person, you don't grab him. But I could be wrong. TNA's probably able to operate completely of its own volition. But yeah, I'm not really sure. But yeah, but Eddie Thorpe was there. Like, again, they seem to have. There was a little start and stop. He had the hip injury, but he was good. Eddie was good. He was good at what he was good at, and that was that real smash mouth, more strong style of wrestling. And I felt like he was really starting to click with this heel character. And whoo, he's gone. He's cut, and that was surprising. Like, I don't think he was remotely close to being ready for the main roster, but I thought for sure that he'd be sticking around at Maple Leaf Wrestling, but I thought for sure that he'd be sticking around NXT for the foreseeable future. I didn't think he'd be getting cut. I figured that he'd be giving much more time to develop. That being said, I kind of figure he'll head back to Japan. Would be my best guess, but that was a shock to me. He had some really, really good matches in NXT, especially in the underground, just really good. And again, they kind of shotgunned his gimmick a little bit. They knocked it around back and forth. They had a little start and stop with it. He was, kind of, was a strong style kind of smash mouth character, lean more Native American, and then he was DJ Eddie Thorpe, and then he was back to being more Native American, but was heelish about it. It was a little all over the place, but it was starting to click. here recently with this heel persona, and I'm bummed. I'm bummed that they released him. I thought he had a lot to give and a lot to show and a lot to prove. But maybe in the future, again, I figure he'll keep at it and keep wrestling. There's, as Tony said in the comments, there's a lot of places that he and everyone else could land. But yeah, I don't know. This was another shocker to me. Do you know who? Yeah. I'm loosely familiar with the character Tony. But yeah. So shocking there on a lot of those. Like I said, a couple of them. Not going to say like I saw it coming, but I wasn't particularly surprised with that happening. But guys, I really, my goodness, I think this might be the most people I've ever had watching me sit here and chatter on by myself with little Molly Holly here. But guys, thank you for tuning in live here tonight, everyone that tuned in live. I appreciate the hell out of you. And if you had a good time here tonight, well, hey, I've got talking NXT on Tuesdays. No. Dirt Sheet Radio is here all the time because professional wrestling never stops. Molly, Dirt Sheet Radio is always here, right? We're here Monday nights for Raw, Tuesdays for NXT. On Wednesday nights, you can check out the AEW recap, which is now tacked on to the Dirt Sheet Radio flagship program that you can check out live every Wednesday night. It is late in the night, but check it out and listen to it. Or listen to it on Thursday mornings with your commute. It'll be there for you. Thursdays, y'all, that is for TNA Impact, which is kind of our sister show here at NXT. And then on Fridays, that is for SmackDown or Smack Sound, if you like. But guys, on the weekends, we have a couple programs that we do. The 3NT crew comes live every Sunday, bringing the week of professional wrestling to you in only the way they can and looking sharp while they do it. And then when CJ and I are able to do so, we bring you the Weekend Wrestling Roundup with a W. Yeah, that's right. That's how we spell it. And we break down wrestling, again, as we see it through the week. I'd like to hit a show soon because I need to get everyone else's opinions on these releases, guys. But yeah, we had a good time here tonight. And guys, again, I appreciate you guys tuning in here tonight. It was wonderful. It was wonderful getting to chat NXT with and for y'all. If you could, give Dirt Sheet Radio a like, a follow on all social media platforms. Tap that little bell thing that lets you know when we're live. I know it's annoying to hear, but smash that button. It really helps us out a lot. It means a lot to us. And after you have followed Dirt Sheet Radio on all platforms, please give me, Tyler, the Pro Wrestling Hipster, a follow over on Facebook, at PW Hipster on Instagram and the Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. But guys, thank you again so much. For Dirt Sheet Radio and for Molly Holly, I'm Tyler, the Pro Wrestling Hipster. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you so much.